Hello everybody, welcome to yet another video by JFP, and in this video I'm simply gonna explain the uses of the hexadecimal system in computer science or computers in general. One of the typical uses of the hexadecimal system by computers and in computer science in general is memory dumps. So what is a memory dump? A memory dump in layman's term is simply the memory contents outputted on an output device like a monitor. So what do I mean by this? What's in memory, in your computer memory, like the RAM, is simply shown on the computer screen. That's what the memory dump is. So you're literally trying to dump what's in the memory on the screen. That's what it is. Memory dumps used to be problematic. You can't understand what your computer is trying to show you that it has in memory. So what do I mean by that? A computer would dump ones and zeros on the screen, ones and zeros, and you try to imagine the mess it would be. So you'll be seeing ones and zeros from here up to there, and that and that and that. The whole screen is filled up with ones and zeros. This became problematic, especially when memory dumps were used to clear out errors. Normally when programming, you are going to encounter some errors, and the computer will try to show you its contents of memory when that error occurred, so that you can figure out a way to have a solution. Now, the problem with ones and zeros is that ones and zeros are typically hard to understand. You can't even understand what those ones and zeros are. You have to group them up into bytes, then you group them up further into something that's meaningful, but that became problematic by a lot of developers. So to solve this, they changed how the computer can dump its memory onto the screen. Instead of using binary numbers, it can use the hexadecimal numbers. So a typical binary number can be like 100011111 and all that, but when converted to hexadecimal, it can just be like F, D, and A. That's all. Then you can just go check up in your error book or reference manual book, anything that you have, and find that error FDA simply means this and that. So memory dumps were changed. Instead of using the binary system, they used the hexadecimal system, and the hexadecimal system became more readable by humans. We can't understand what ones and zeros, no matter what we try. It can take a lot of time, and that's a waste of time. Mind you, in computer science, time is very essential, and we'll dive into deeper lessons to why we need to consider time in almost everything we do in computer science. Another use case of the hexadecimal system in computer science is to write assembly code. Assembly code is simply low level code. This is whereby we code to one of the barest levels to which a computer can understand what you're instructing it. Now, the lowest level of code there is machine code. What is machine code? Machine code is simply ones and zeros. As I continue stating more videos, is that a computer only understands ones and zeros. That's all. So that's machine code. This is what a computer, or this is what you can give to a computer and it will actually do something. Now, assembly code is lower level, but it's more readable. And by assembly code, we're simply using hexadecimal system again. We're not using another system. So instead of writing ones and zeros to a computer, like you code up a program using ones and zeros, which is practically impossible, but you can. Actually, I even know some software which were made with machine code, but it took a lot of time because the machine code is prone to a lot of errors. You can easily change this 0 to 1, and that 1 can affect the whole program. You can introduce a bug in the system and all that. But to solve this, people came up with a smarter way. Instead of using machine code, they started using assembly code, which is more readable. And a typical machine code will maybe be STP, which is more readable. And using machine code, it became easier and faster to write this code because you are less prone to make any errors. No, there are no ones and zeros whereby you can easily change 0 to 1 and all that. The final use case of the hexadecimal system in computer science is data representation. Like any other number system, the hexadecimal system is also used to represent data in a computer. One such case is colors. Colors are a typical example, and by colors I simply mean blue and red, green, like that. If you have used an old TV set with antennas, you have probably heard of RGB. Or if you have used typically any computer, you have probably heard of RGB. So what does RGB mean? It simply means red, green, and blue. That's what RGB means: red, green, and blue. So any color can be represented with RGB. You can go deeper into other color schematics, but typically almost all the colors we see can be represented by RGB. So this RGB stands for how much red you have, how much green you have, how much blue you have. So now to represent this, computer scientists typically use the hexadecimal system as it made life easier. The maximum value to which red you can have is simply 0 to 255. That's same for green, and that's same for blue. Now 0 to 255, instead of writing a 0, they started using 0 to FF. 0 to FF. FF is just 255 in hexadecimal. So if I wanted to say all red, I would simply say hashtag FF0000. So this shows I have red to its full limit, I have 0 green, and I have 0 blue. To illustrate this further, I've simply opened up a color picker on Google, and here I've just inputted hashtag FF0000, and as I stated on the whiteboard, 00 represents 0 blue, 0 green, and FF represents the maximum value of the color. So that's 25500, as FF represents 255. To illustrate this point further, I'm simply gonna change this to another hexadecimal values, but we're gonna maintain that FF and say 6A DB. I want you to see the colors. So using a color picker, you can even see that the color has changed here. Now we're representing, I don't even know what that color is, but it's some shade of pink, and that typically shows another use case of the hexadecimal system. One common use case I've seen of the hexadecimal system is representation of colors. If you dive further into web development, where you start coding in CSS, you typically represent your colors using this kind of format in hexadecimal. So those were the use cases of the hexadecimal system in computer science. Hope you've learned something. If you have, please leave a like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.